If you know the song, I would ask that you would sing it with me. I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents under the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love lights gleam. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. I should have taken a pitch from Rob, but that did all right. That went all right. All right. When you dream of being home for Christmas, what does that mean to you? Right, perhaps being home for Christmas is a home from long ago. The home where you grew up as a child, the pitter-patter of your feet running down the stairs in the morning to see the presents under the tree and marvel at the empty plate of cookies, an empty glass of milk from the night before. Perhaps home for Christmas means that all of your children are at your home, a full house back at your house, a crowded table, beds that have been empty all year, suddenly the resting place for weary travelers. Perhaps home for Christmas is coming back to St. John's, being in this sanctuary, feeling the unmistakable ambiance of all of our candles while hearing those old familiar words, silent night, holy night, all is calm. All is bright. What home for Christmas, what that means to you, has a lot to do with, well, quite simply, where your true home is. It's a powerful theme and image around this type of year. And for many of us, this idea of home is often tinged with a bit of nostalgia. The author Kurt Vonnegut pondered, I've wondered where home is, and I realized it's Indianapolis when I was 9. I had a brother and a sister, a cat and a dog, a mother and a father, and aunts and uncles, and there's no way I can get there again. Perhaps we don't have that specific of a time frame as Vonnegut does, but we know it when we feel it. It's a little like this. A former presidential candidate many number of elections ago was campaigning in his home state of Michigan after traveling all over the country. And he started off his speech saying, "Feels good to be back home in Michigan, where all of the trees are the right height." I mean, it's a little silly, and he was mocked for saying what at first sounds like a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, how can a tree be the right height? There's small trees, there's tall trees. What does that even mean? But think about that for just a moment. It feels good to be home, where all of the trees are the right height. Whatever your home is, especially for the holidays, it is home because it feels, well, it feels like home. It feels right. It feels calm. It feels bright. It feels resonant with our soul. It feels holy. Like Indianapolis when we were 9, or where all the trees look like they're supposed to. Yes, Christmas is about feeling like we are home. After all, was it not Dolly Parton who once said, "No matter what, I will always make it home for Christmas"? And yet, at the heart of this sentiment, there is, as author and philosopher G.K. Chesterton wrote, a beautiful and intentional paradox. That Christmas, which is celebrated in every home, is ultimately about the birth of a baby without one. We know the story well, right? A decree went up from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. And so Joseph went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Bethlehem. And of course, he didn't go alone. He took his very pregnant fiancée, Mary, with him, supposedly on a donkey, but the scriptures are noticeably absent about how they got there. But what they are sure to tell us is that when Mary went into labor, there was no room for her at the inn. And so we find Mary and Joseph on that first Christmas Eve away from their home, far from their homeland, and unable to secure room even at someone else's home. It's into this homeless reality that Jesus Christ was born. And if you pay attention, the rest of the story follows suit. Right, the first people to hear the Christmas story in the whole world were the shepherds. Not at home, but in a field, watching their flocks by night. The first Christmas carol was sung by a multitude of the heavenly host who left their heavenly home to come to earth to sing and give praise to God. The first people to gather to worship Jesus were magi who traveled far from home in the east. And soon after that, Joseph, Mary, and their infant son fled home to escape the wrath of King Herod. So can it be true? Can Christmas really be about feeling like we are home? Or is this feeling, is it false or overly sentimental? Are we relying too much on a feeling of nostalgia and a time when things felt simpler, or dare we say better? Or is there something more important happening on this Christmas Eve and on every Christmas since the very first one, when Jesus was born and laid in a manger? Let's actually circle back to those words from Dolly Parton. No matter what, she says, I will always make it home for Christmas. Well, Dolly, if I can be so bold, I'm not going to change your words, but I am going to recontextualize them. Because, yes, we will always make it home for Christmas. I agree. But on Christmas, our true home is not the house of our childhood. It is not Indianapolis when we were 9. It is not Michigan where all of the trees are supposedly the right height. Our home on Christmas is not something we need to find or remember or return to. On Christmas, our home, our true home, is not actually a home as we usually conceive of it, but it is precisely where Christ was homeless that you and I are home. Our home is in the manger. And mangers of the type Jesus was laid in, hewn from rock. While they were feeding troughs for animals, they were also what shepherds used to transport lambs to the temple in Jerusalem to be sacrificed. And in order to keep those lambs unblemished on their journeys, they were, listen to this, wrapped in bands of cloth and laid in that manger. Our home is in that manger. Because if home is where we can feel calm from the busyness of the world, if home feels bright amid the darkness, if home feels resonant with our soul when so much in our world alienates us from ourselves and others, if home feels holy when so much seems broken and wrong, then our home on this Christmas and every Christmas, past, present, and future, is indeed the manger, where we are told that God himself was born, and yes, as the manger foretells, that God will one day die to set us free from sin and fear, free to love, free to live. And that's what truly coming home feels like. Being free to love, free to live, free to receive forgiveness and grace. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. Yes, friends, Christmas Eve does find us. And where the love light gleams is from the manger, the homeless resting place of Emmanuel, who is born among us, dies for us, the place where you and I are home. Amen.